Sunday papers with microwave. They talk about a Florida man who crashed his car into a lake. They'll read about it, no need to doubt it. Sit back and relax, take your news facts from these guys, then take a break.
Hey now, what's happening? The Sunday paper subscribers, we got a bunch over there. Those are the non-vaccinated people. That's the drill. You try a microphone, Mike.
Well,
there you go.
I'm a little thrown. Well, super fans, I imagine.
Yeah, thank you for making out. Mike actually got in his car this morning at what time?
7-ish.
Left LA at 7. Got here about an hour ago.
Yeah. I took a dump in Modesto, so that's one off
Isn't
the
that
bucket
a Johnny
list.
Cash song?
Yeah. And then in Sacramento, I got I stopped at a Burger King and got an Impossible Whopper.
Wow.
Which is you know what an Impossible Whopper is? Right. So when I pull up to the window, they're like, here's your fake meat, queer.
Did they beat the shit out of you?
I felt that way. I was sandwiched between a giant pickup truck and a Mustang. I'm like, can I get my plant burger? But now I'm drinking liquid death.
Yeah, look at this. Canned water. Is this not the end of the fucking civilization?
Are they a sponsor?
They will be.
Well, I doubt it because I'm about to talk about them. It's a strong product name.
Mike, by the way, we were backstage.
Oh, from the Alps, from Austria.
Ooh. So not only are you wasting metal and pulling water from an area that probably needs it, but then you're shipping it halfway across the earth.
Also a pro-Holocaust country selling liquid death. I don't know. I mean, do they have marketing executives over there?
We're turning into an amateur Holocaust country over here. All volunteer.
Look at us storming the Capitol. Look at this thing behind us. Two white guys this close to the Capitol? I don't trust us.
Right. You should have come up draped in the flag. So we're backstage, and Mike pulled out his pill box. And usually a pill box has days of the week, and each day is the pills you take on that day. Mike's pill box, Monday is filled with Viagra.
That's not true.
Tuesday is Ritalin. He's got his pills in different days of the week.
No, I just put all pills in there, but then I can't. A lot of them are really similar.
The point is, he has a tummy ache, and his stomach is either about to be settled or he's going to fall asleep because it's Ambien. He can't tell which.
Yeah. Well, I took 2, so I might fall asleep with an erection. And I don't have a tummy ache. It's for my voice, which I always lose, as the listeners know. So it's an acid reflux thing.
Oh. Did you tell them that at Burger King in Modesto?
Hey, guys. Easy on the mayo. All right. Are we done?
I got to give a shout out to Dr. Levitt in New York City, Lenox Hospital, who did open heart surgery on my mother yesterday. And she came out with flying colors. She had a bypass, and they gave her a new valve because it was leaking. And so now she's faster than ever. And you know, just happy. Just want to put out good vibes.
I'm hearing our delay over
there. What's the delay?
I bet
let me turn down the sound.
That's my cell phone. So if you guys see any texts come in, just let me know. We are a high-tech operation here.
I know, you're going to find out.
For the listeners of the regular podcast, meaning not video, my cell phone is duct taped to a mic stand on the stage here in SAC Town.
Yes, and we've got a camera on us.
Another cell phone, your cell phone.
Yeah. So there may be. I'm a comedian, and I get texts from other comedians that are, you know, we try to say the worst,
dicks.
Horrible, Holocaust, homophobic, racist shit to each other for shock value, and that'll be popping up on that screen as we're from Dave Attell or somebody
I
else.
mean, it's a kind of an honor. You're going to see Bill Burr's cock in a couple of minutes.
So-
I actually, we haven't thought this through. I had text on there from some writers from a show I did with Norm MacDonald, and I was going to read them. Now I just have to try to remember them.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about Norm. If you are a fan of the show, you know that Norm has been an important part of both of our lives, and will be very dearly missed. It's been a heavy week thinking about him, but also a week filled with looking at, I mean, thank God for, you can curse the internet all you want, but when you get to look at Norm MacDonald YouTube clips for 4 days straight, what a joy that is. That'll always be there, I think grandkids, great-grandkids will watch Norm MacDonald and say, wow, this guy was one of the greatest that's ever done it, How about a round of applause for Norm MacDonald, everybody?
Also, it's funny the way things are going. It's like, we would look, you look at old Rickles clips or whoever you want to look at. And funny is funny, but I wonder if Norm's will almost get edgier as the way this, shit show is going with PC culture. Like, in a weird way, people will look back like, what?
Yeah. Some of the shit that's said at the Comedy Central roast, like, I can't imagine, in 10 years, people aren't going to be like, what fucking country was this in? And Norm's, I don't know if you saw Norm when he did the roast. He came out, when he did Bob Saget's roast, he did really corny jokes that nobody laughed at. And I was like fascinated. I was like, where did these jokes come from? So I researched it, and in an interview with some like college newspaper, he told them that Saget had kept asking him to do the roast, and he wasn't into it because he said, I'm just not that kind of comic. I don't come up and say, Cloris Leachman's pussy should be put in a fucking finish it.
Yeah, sure.
In a wax museum.
Yeah, in a Comedy Central show.
And so finally he agreed after being pestered. So the day of, he hadn't decided what he would do on the roast. He had this book that his father had sent him when he first started doing stand-up comedy, and it was jokes for old people. And and he said to somebody, I'm only going to do jokes out of this book. And he just committed, and nobody laughed. And then somebody told me that Comedy Central, being the bastion of great taste in comedy that they are, put a laugh track after the... Sir, you heard about this?
John Lovitz has an interview where he talks about it. And if you watch it, John Lovitz is the only one rolling on the floor laughing.
Yes.
He knew what Norm was doing.
Okay, so Lovitz is laughing, and then Comedy Central didn't want there to be silence, so they put laughs. They're the fucking... Well, whatever. I shouldn't say anything because I'm trying to sell shows to them, but, they're a great network, but sometimes there's some errors in judgment.
No, TV misjudge Norm all the time. Well, did Lovitz also mention it was cut down a lot?
Yeah.
It was actually way more painful than what we see, which is a painfully long, spread of bad jokes.
If you remember, when everybody else was going on, he was sitting there reading a newspaper.
Yeah.
Oh, he's reading a newspaper, right.
But at the ESPYs, which he has like one of his most famous jokes ever, he didn't know, but they would put the people he was doing jokes about behind him. So people would all of a sudden there'd be like kind of claps, and a couple times you could see him kind of confused because he just delivered this like weird joke, and then there was like sort of like a different reaction than he expected because they were producing it the wrong way.
But I think some of my favorite clips of Norm is when he was the guest one down on the couch. So Conan would be interviewing somebody, and he would be just peppering the interview with insults and just asides. And the best one was, and I'm sure most of you have seen this one, but I just have to mention it because I loved it, was Conan's interviewing this woman who has just done a movie with Carrot Top. And Norm had a thing about Carrot Top. He used to shit on him all the time. And which is so mean because what's Carrot Top doing to anybody? But Norm just thought he represented everything that was wrong with comedy. And so this woman, this is like a big break for her being on Conan, and he keeps taking shots at him, and then finally the interview ends, and Conan's wrapping it up, and he goes, okay, so go see Carrot Top and so in...
Courtney Thorne-Smith, yeah.
Courtney Thorne-Smith in Chairman of the Board. Go ahead, Norm, try to make fun of that. And Norm goes, is it spelled Chairman of the B-O-R-E-D?
Well, he had already hit her. He already chimed in twice. One was, she goes, well, it's kind of like 9.5 Weeks, that very sexy movie from the 80s or 90s. She's like, it's kind of like 9.5 Weeks, but with Carrot Top. And he's like, is it called 9.5 Seconds? that was the first one. And then the second one was, Conan said, oh, it probably doesn't have a title yet. He's like, I have a good title for it if it stars Carrot Top. Box Office Poison. The poor interview.
Oh God, poor
Yeah, he was
Carrot Top.
amazing. Norm was,
Yeah.
I mean, a real hero to an idol for a lot of us. Is this the podcast?
Yeah, this is our script.
Anyway, yeah, we could talk about Norm the whole
Well,
time.
I wanted to talk about a couple things. Just a couple quotes that I wrote down. One was when he was on Weekend Update. This is one of his famous jokes. Is quote, "Yippee! Jerry Rubin died this week." And then he looked down and he apologized for his mistake and said, "That should read, Yippee! Jerry Rubin died this week." So he said, here's some of the things he said. When the fucking sickle of death is over my goddamn neck, I'm going to be so cowardly, I'm afraid of going on Ferris wheels and shit. I'm not going to be brave. Which the irony is, he was incredibly brave. For 9 years, he lived with cancer. We don't know what kind of cancer it is.
Right.
I've heard rumors that it was leukemia. And that
But
he
not
lived with,
you. But it should be noted, you've heard that rumor from no one in the business.
No, this is somebody outside of the business. I heard it from.
Because nobody in the business knew anything, which
Right.
is remarkable.
Yeah. I get a hangnail and I fucking tweet about it.
But he was scared of a lot. He was correct in that. Like Norm never ever drove a car, never had a driver's license, and always would quote the statistics on that. You know, on how like it's one of the biggest killers, especially back in the '80s. And anyway, yeah, he was afraid of a lot of things,
So
except offending people.
right, and this always kind of resonates with me. But this is how he described being a stand-up comedian. He said, "It's a shabby business made up of shabby fellows like me who cross the country, stay in shabby hotels, and tell jokes they no longer find funny." Yeah. Yeah, as I was sitting in my shabby fucking hotel today. And look, we're here. By the way, we should give a shout out to the Punch Line. How about a nice hand for the folks here that are so great in helping us get set up, and they're so supportive. This is a real A room. This is one of my favorite rooms to play. And Omar, the manager, who helped us a lot. But the hotel is, I think in 1971 it was considered passable. It's shag carpeting and...
All right, so this is probably inappropriate, but so I pull up into the parking lot like 20 minutes ago, and there's a handicap spot, but I'm just checking in, and normally, I would probably just leave it there quick, keep an eye on it. I had the thought, as appropriately...
Well, you have acid reflux.
No, but I don't even think it's called handicap. I mean, otherly abled. I forget what it is now. But I had one of those placards because my Achilles blew out. So I had that for like 4 months, and it was the best thing ever. Like that's when you go to Dodger games or concerts. It's like front row. I remember going to Dodger Stadium. I'm like, is that Mattingly's car? It was like the manager's car was next door. So I'm like, he's not disabled. So anyway, I pull up. And whatever, I'm just going to blurt it out. So I had a thought, which began in a good place, which was, I better not do that here. Sacramento probably has way more handicapped people. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like it's as if I'm like a passenger. Like, what the fuck did you just think? And I'm like, whoa. And then I literally was like having a conversation with myself. I'm like, no, what I meant was, like there's way more there's probably more farm accidents and heavy machinery accidents. And then there's probably also a lot more like fireworks blowing off fingers and shit like that. So anyway, that was my thought.
Run over in mini malls.
So that was my thought. And I'm like, I mean, I bet you could do studies. I bet there is, in a rural, especially farm, whatever. I'm digging myself a hole. So
this is the capital of California, Mike.
Oh yeah, no, I know. So I read about the recall. So I I don't park there. And I'm like, that was really bad that I even had that thought. So then I go in, and she's like, well, listen, we only have one room available, and it's this, handy, whatever, ADA, American Disability, ADA room. I'm like, all right, well, what's that? So anyway.
Do I get the spot with the room?
Right, I should have said that.
Yeah.
So I go in, and it's the smallest, most depressed. First of all, I don't even know why. I don't even know how a wheelchair fits in there. But I then try to shower quick. This story's going nowhere. I then try to shower quick, and it's a giant, where you could roll your wheelchair up. And, the bathroom's bigger than the room. And so I turn on the water, I turn all the way hot, and it takes for fucking ever for the hot water to get there. And as I'm standing there naked, just staring at the most depressing bathroom ever, I'm like, oh my God, the poor guy or girl in a wheelchair, has already gotten naked, probably with a helper, and now they're both standing there well, one of them standing, and they're just like, they have to make small talk as this incredibly awkward situation's unfolding. Anyway, so, yeah, good karma.
All right. So,
oh wait, I'll finish by telling one Norm story, which I think it's very interesting. It blew me away. So, in seeing all these tributes, a lot of people compare notes, and they're like, yeah, even I listened to the Conan podcast on Norm, which he put out this week, and it's great. I recommend it. But even then, I'm like, I think Andy missed that, that explanation of Norm, and I've found there's been a lot of missed explanations, and that's the problem is when you try to peg them down, everyone's going to be wrong. So I grew up, and maybe for comedy fans or people who want to be writers who listen to our podcast and they write in, this might be very interesting. But Norm's voice hit me like it did everyone first saw him on TV as the SNL host, and I would see him on Letterman also early on. And it just resonated in me picture your favorite band. I mean, just the first time you heard them, and it just really resonated with me. And so I just wanted that voice. I couldn't get enough of it. It was like I studied it. I lived it. It was my favorite thing. Fast forward 20 years, and I had the honor to co-create a show with Norm and some others. And I'm also his head writer, which is easily my career high point for sure, my proudest moment. So I'm in the writer's room with Norm late one night, and it's just the two of us. And the reviews start to come in. And I'm like, do you want me to read, here's the Hollywood Reporter, everyone, do you want me to read them? He's like, yeah, sure. So I read the first one, and the first line was, Norm MacDonald's back with his trademark sarcastic wit. And he's like, ugh. And I'm like, I think this might actually be a good one. Why? And he's like, no, it's just, they always say that. And I'm like, say what? And he's like, they always say I'm sarcastic, and I hate that. And I'm like, what do you, and I'm just like, I agreed with it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And this is a guy who thought he knew his voice better than anybody, who had proved myself with packets. Can I be your head writer? Do I get you? And all green lights. And he's like, well, I actually I try to never be sarcastic. And I wanted to say what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, sarcasm is really, really easy. And he goes, I try to do the opposite. I try to just say the truth. And I wanted to say something, and then all of a sudden, in a movie where the zoom comes in and the background pushes, where the guy realizes who the killer is, or all of a sudden I played back. It was just Lisa Marie Presley and Michael Jackson are divorcing. It turns out she's more a stay-at-home type, and he's more of a homosexual pedophile. Kenny G has a new Christmas album. Happy birthday, Jesus. Hope you like crap. And I mean, Heisman Trophy, they'll never take that away from you unless you kill your wife and a waiter. None of them are sarcastic. Every time he found jokes which were really hard to find for him where it was true. And then his bar was so high. I think the best joke that was ever created in that writer's room, I forget, I wish I knew who wrote it. It was not me. But it was Sports Show with Norm MacDonald. So we were limited to the sports, which he did not limit himself to in the end. We did tons of jokes on everything. But the best joke, one of that I recall, was the Sports Illustrated was going to come up with the 100 best NBA shots of all time. And so it was a typical Norm list joke, like he did with Crack Whore and the worst jobs in the country. And so anyway, same type of format. And it goes, and then coming in at number 1 of the best NBA shots of all time, whatever fucking shot Magic Johnson takes every morning. And like I couldn't wait to read it to him, and he rejected it. And he was like, he doesn't take a shot. And I'm like, don't you fucking do that. And he's like, it's a cocktail or whatever. He's like, it just doesn't. And he wouldn't do it.
Wow.
No matter how hard we try to talk him into it.
Meanwhile, 20 years later, you will. At a comedy club in a mini mall next to a mattress store.
Yep, save that one. Saved it, worth it. But it's also, again, he could feel, I learned to undersell him. Back to your point, when Comedy Central's like, oh, we want you to rip Saget apart, really go for it. And he goes, oh, got it, note taken. I'm going to do the opposite.
Right.
And
well,
so,
the beauty of him getting this job was that we had, and I'm sure people who listen to the podcast have heard this story, but I'm going to say it again because it was pretty formative in our lives, is when I started doing stand-up, I'd been doing it for like maybe 4 or 5 years, and I got to open for Norm in Boston, where I was based out of at the time. And he came in, and he was on Weekend Update for just a couple of years, and I just thought he was the greatest. And I saw him start out the weekend on a Thursday with rough, just notes written on pieces of paper, and it was rough, and he kind of did okay. And then the next night, it did extremely well. And then by Saturday night, he was fucking killing. It was like a new hour I saw him create in front of my eyes. And he was hanging out backstage, and he was just the nicest guy to hang out with. And then he said to me at the end of the weekend, he goes, hey, you're a really good writer. He said, I would love it if you would submit jokes for Weekend Update, you know, because they had a fax thing where you would fax them in, and you got like $50 a joke if you scored a joke, and there was a bunch of there's a limited number of people that were asked to fax, so I was very honored. I said, great. So he gives me the fax number. I come back to New York, and I say to Mike, I go, you're going to do this with me. We're gonna fax jokes for Norm MacDonald.
yeah, you couldn't stop. I mean, when I heard that, it was like we got the best job in the world, which was going to be 100% unpaid and on our own time.
Right. So every Thursday night, we lived in New York at the time, and I lived in Little Italy on a 6th floor walk up, and he was on a 5th floor walk up a couple blocks over.
Yeah.
And on Thursday nights, we would get Chinese food, and we would sit in the apartment, and we would write jokes all night. Just go through the newspapers and the magazines, write jokes, punch them up, polish them, rewrite them, and then at the end of the night, we'd put together like the 20 best jokes, and we would like very carefully, fastidiously fax them in to Norm MacDonald at Saturday Night Live.
Like we'd watch the last one go in and be like, oh my God. And then Saturday would come.
And we'd sit in front of the TV.
And 5 times a Saturday, we'd be like, this is it. Because, of course, people had the same setups as us. And they were like, oh, no, that wasn't that. No, ours was better, wasn't it? Like,
yeah. And so a week goes by, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, nothing. 4 weeks, nothing.
20 weeks.
We go by. We do this for like 3 or 4 months. Every fucking week. Nothing gets on. And we finally just go, you know what? We just are not funny. We're not meant to do this for a living. And then cut to 20 years later, Mike is his co-creator and head writer, and he brings up to him during the first week. Well, tell him the conversation.
Well, I go, I'm embarrassed. I didn't say this in my interviews with you, but I didn't want to seem like such a fanboy geek, which is what I am. But I go, and I told him that story, and he's like, you're kidding me. And he goes, as you've seen, I have like an OCD. I can't pass a fax machine. And it's true. He will read jokes. He'll stay there. That's why we were there late that night. He will stay and just read everything. He's like, tell me something. I'm like, oh, well, there's kind of well, here, you finish it because you're the one who got it.
He basically said, I read all the jokes, and I can tell you for a fact I never got a joke faxed to me from Greg Fitzsimmons. He'd given me the wrong fax number. And we were faxing to probably some Wall Street douchebag who was getting the jokes fed into his desk, and he was the funniest guy in the office every Friday, walking around with great topical stuff about a crime that happened in Arkansas.
Funniest guy at Citibank. Steve's a little weird with all the crack whore jokes lately. I don't know what's going on. It's a little bizarre.
Wow, Steve really hates O.J. Simpson. It just keeps coming up.
Steve, we got it. He's a pedophile. Let it go. Steve, we're gonna fire you if you keep doing O.J. jokes.
So one more thing before we move into the news about Norm is I just want to read something. Laurie Kilmartin, who's a great comic out of Los Angeles, and if you haven't seen her stuff, go online and check it out. But anyway, she wrote that I don't even know if he remembered me. We worked together for a week in the 90s. It was out of the blue, and he sent her a tweet. She says, Norm MacDonald was a true GOAT as a comic, as a talk show guest, a true original. He tweeted this to me as my dad was dying from cancer in 2014. Quote, I'm just an idiot, Laurie, but I found out when I embraced the pain as tightly as I could, it became love. I pray for you. Isn't that nice? He was like that. He just was just
He's
the
also
greatest.
the smartest human being I've
Yeah.
ever met, I think.
Anyway, let's get to the news.
Oh my God! Wait, is this the paper?
And now, let's crinkle some paper. So there's going to be slight pauses when we. Hey, look at that!
Oh wow! Is that a thing? All
Get
right.
out of here!
So the audience just all brought papers and crinkled them. I feel like we have to smash a watermelon, or I didn't know it was going to be audience participation.
Well, it's like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Let's just pretend that
comedy.
wasn't super weird and keep moving forward. With my liquid death from Austria.
All right, so let's start. First of all, shout out to Mark Rowland, who played that awesome song as we came to the
Everyone
stage.
pretend they know this. Oh, they hear it?
They heard it. They heard it.
I'm the
Yeah.
only one, I guess.
And our logo, which you don't see, is by Michael Solomon. Thank you, Michael. A couple quick corrections. Veterinarian here, so I'm sure you won't trust me. Gibbons are actually apes.
I know.
The easy way to remember is that monkeys have tails. Humans, chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, and gibbons are all apes, no tails.
Although Tom O'Neill, our friend, has a tail.
That's true.
Shit, is this? Luckily, not a lot of people listen to this.
He has a growth.
It's called the vestigial, right?
Yeah.
Tail, the bottom
Yeah.
of your spine.
He's got a little one of those.
It's, I don't want to say little. It wraps around my leg at dinner. It's a little weird.
Why is his asshole so close to your leg at dinner?
I know, that's the bigger issue.
Also, the magic gel that Mike was suggesting be invented to replace a condom has
Yes.
been tried.
I'm listening.
I used to work in an animal lab and testing it for safety. It passed early safety trials, but when it was tried in people for efficacy, fuck me.
It's like an F word, efficacy.
The spermicide in the gel was irritating enough to healthy tissue in a woman's vagina.
That's because women, not often enough, don't fuck like animals. That's what I got from that. Because the animals at work. Are you reading? That's
you're
very
saying-
important.
You're saying women need to push themselves harder in the bedroom.
Like an animal in a test lab.
Right, like a monkey.
Like a monkey, yeah, who's forced to have sex with a bunch of guys in coats watching.
And you have to present, ladies, like a monkey. Present. Arch the back.
Oh, God.
And spray a little.
Spray? I think that comes later.
All right, so
All right.
on.
Science, what are you going to do? It's inappropriate.
And then another guy wrote, EJ said that about Gilbert, he was doing Hugh Hefner roast in New York a few weeks after 9/11.
Gilbert Gottfried.
After the moans, after telling his 9/11 jokes, he pivoted and started telling the aristocrats, you know, the joke, the aristocrats. He did that during the roast.
Yeah.
Coming up, if you're in Connecticut, people, I will be at Comics at the Mohegan Sun.
So in a club, you're plugging other clubs?
Right.
That's allowed? I'm new to this game.
Well, here's how it works. During COVID, you fucking...
When I drink liquid death, I don't promote. I don't shit on another water.
Trying to fill a club during COVID is like trying
You realize
to...
your gummies are on the table?
These are going to be a prize. Oh, later on, think about this during the show, because when we do local news, that microphone is there for you guys. We're going to ask you to come up and tell us the craziest local news story that comes from your town. And we're going to pick the best one. And this is Camino cannabis-infused gummies, 5 milligrams.
Another
An entire
non-sponsor
tin
plug.
goes to the winner.
All right.
So if you're a pothead and you come
Neither
from
of us
Weird
will
Town,
watch, it turns
this is your
out.
day.
Do we know what time it? We're going to run out of
They
time.
didn't really react to that, did they?
No one has a local story.
Everybody has their own gummies in Sacramento.
Ah, she said everybody has their own gummies in Sacramento. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. How many people are high? Raise your hand if you're high.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You should have told us that up front. That makes
That's like a third
I'm no
of the
longer embarrassed
crowd.
about the shit I've been spewing up here.
That's awesome.
I think the big local story is my dump in Modesto. I think it's going to be hard to top. Is Modesto local?
Don't forget, I'll be at the San Francisco
Not
Punch
really?
Line November 4th through the 6th. And Mike may join us. We'll see. We're not sure.
Where?
We got to convince him. San Francisco.
Oh, I don't know. This is going so well. We'll see. I don't think they'll be as high up there.
Stat Hero, folks. Do you like to bet on sports?
Boy,
You don't
do
just
they.
watch it. You want to play it. Get the daily fantasy sports book that rewards passion with winning. That's Stat Hero.
There's a room. They're gamblers. They live in Sacramento.
Introducing Stat
like
Hero.
Risk.
It's the first ever daily fantasy sports book that puts the player in control of winning. Here's how it works. They show you their lineups and dare you to beat them. It's you versus the house in a head-to-head fantasy matchup. You name the stakes, winner take all. You're in control. Play Stat Hero now. Change the odds. Go to stathero.com/papers, sign up for free, and do it right now. You can get 100% bonus match on your first deposit using promo code PAPERS. They're matching your first deposit. So what do you have to lose? Go to stathero.com/papers or enter promo code PAPERS for 100% first deposit match. Front page, Mike.
Well, also make the ad conversational. I'm kidding. It doesn't say that. Now they know you read it. Front page.
The
All
worst
right.
is my dad actually did those reads for a living. He was good at it. I'm not the best. There's a Republican responsible for a September 11th parade float in Indiana that featured a depiction of the Twin Towers with billowing smoke, defended the painful reminder of the attacks after outraged critics called it tasteless and
Oh
disrespectful.
my God. Is there footage of it?
There's a picture, but you guys can't see it, but the people watching the podcast will see it.
Oh, all right.
But it's basically like, picture a third grader making a project in class of the Twin Towers with like fake flames sticking out of it, and they paraded it down Main Street. And they fucking loved it. He said, I think we hit it spot on. The idea for the float was discussed ahead of time with local first responders, and they all liked it, he told the paper, but now he's getting shit about it.
I hope they don't have a parade remembering the Holocaust. I hope that guy's not in charge of that one.
Yeah, right.
Or the civil rights movement.
Right.
Like, look at those German shepherds look real.
Yeah, right.
And the fire hoses? I
fire
don't think
hoses
that's
are
a good idea.
Fucking powerful. I can't
Yeah.
even stand.
Oh, no. Here comes the strange fruit float. Wait a minute. What? It's this guy, not me. It's inappropriate.
Look, it's the Holocaust
Just eat some
train.
more edibles. It'll be fine.
There was a baby born. This teen went to the hospitals thinking she just had appendicitis. That happens. But came home 48 hours later with a new baby.
She stole it?
Nadia
I didn't
Rhodes,
read this story.
19, started getting severe cramps in her side and back. But as she was taking birth control and hadn't gained any weight, she had no idea she was pregnant. Her boyfriend and dad-to-be, Brad O'Donnell, rushed to the hospital only to find out she actually had gone into labor. So she's from Brookfield, Ohio.
I like a gal like that. No excuses. My fucking wife, I had her bring her like breakfast in bed every day because she's pregnant.
She probably
This
gained
one
weight.
didn't even know.
Yeah.
She was probably still bringing her guy breakfast in bed.
Yeah, ladies, keep it to
Yeah.
yourselves.
If Norm can keep leukemia to himself for 9 years,
Yeah.
you can make it 9 months with a little baby bump.
If there's a theme for today's podcast, keep shit to yourself.
Yeah. Just tell us when it's due.
Like
Back to our sponsor.
Mike's little...
Yeah.
A popular California ski resort whose name included a derogatory
This is
term.
sort of local-ish.
This is very close by. A derogatory term for Native American women changed its name to Palisades Tahoe
That's
Monday.
an awful new name.
So the old name was, everybody? Squaw Valley.
What's so wrong with that?
Well, apparently the word squaw, derived from the Algonquin language,
Woman.
may have once simply meant woman. But over generations, the word morphed into a misogynist and racist term to disparage indigenous women. Well, that's the problem is like, I have said words in the past that are on podcasts that I did 10 years ago, and those words today don't hold up so good. And I said squaw, sir. And I was talking about my wife.
Also, Tahoe is now just Ta.
Yeah.
That's what's coming down the pipe.
Right. And country is just tree.
Apparently, there's a big concert here. I saw a bunch of Country in the Park or something like that.
Yeah.
What's that all about? Is
Yeah,
there a big
what's-
name there?
Insurrection number 2, I think.
Oh, is it? Oh, is there a lot of patriots? A lot of
Now
patriots
I'm
dancing.
into it.
I love how
Alright.
patriots dance. They kind of just sway. You wouldn't know about it?
All right.
No. This is the crunchy part of Sacramento, isn't it? I like this guy's T-shirt. Real ass dude. She got it for you?
I think it was Lewis's. Louis Gomez or something like that.
Oh, Louis Gomez?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He's a real ass dude. Louis says some shit today that you couldn't ever have said at any time.
What do you say now?
I mean, he's just so inappropriate. I love it. He'll fucking say anything.
He's protesting to keep squaw alive.
Yeah.
You know what it might be? You know, also, you're not supposed to say girl anymore or girls. Yeah, about women. Yeah.
Really? What about girls soccer?
No, I guarantee that's going to change. Girls apparently, more and more, especially grown men talking about women as girls. And it's, of course, it's because women, I
women's
don't want to
soccer.
be offensive about it, but it's because women got
Yeah,
all
what
their
if the-
panties in a bunch. At least I used women.
That is a weird term. Panties in a bunch. Are they bunched up on the vagina or the asshole?
Well, it's like, the image is like their assholes, like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm all nervous. But,
I think it was like the vagina is
by the way, for the
sucking
podcast
fabric
listeners,
in.
I rub my hands together quickly like a nervous person.
Either place is uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable?
It's uncomfortable.
Well, do you wear the thong?
No.
You don't even wear them like throughout the day, like with them pulled to the side, like grabbing just one ass cheek, like you see in the pornography. No, that's the way I would wear it. Just side saddle. That's the way I do wear it. This liquid death, I'm so fucked up, dude.
I know this liquid death looks like something you'd
I just
see on
wanna
the T-shirt of a
murder
guy
someone.
who's at a rave and ran away and he's not homeless yet, but he doesn't have a home. He's on couches.
Well, we're not drinking it the right way. You're supposed to have sunglasses pointed backwards on your head over your ears. I think that's the way you're.
Yeah, with an orange goatee.
Corrosive.
A Houston woman shot and killed a man who was peeping through her bedroom window.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, do you need more? Do you need more than that?
Yeah.
It happened at 11 p.m. last Friday in North Houston. The woman saw a shadowy figure standing outside her window and, fearing for her safety, grabbed a rifle and opened fire several times through the wall.
All right, couple things. First of all, you could have grabbed a robe. Number one.
Yeah, right.
Two, how bad a shot are you? You hit the wall?
Yeah. Well,
She must have thought, oh my God, he probably has 10 friends to his left. I'm going to blast this wall away.
yeah. I wonder if like there was a hole that he was peeping through and she shot through the hole. But the guy, they found him in the next door neighbor's driveway dead. With,
Did they?
yeah.
You got to
they-
front load that. I'm making
I know.
inappropriate jokes here.
I didn't put all, oh, stop. He's dead. He was a peeping Tom.
Well,
I
that-
used to be a peeping Tom. In college,
Oh, God.
I didn't actively seek out being a peeping Tom. Well, no, it's happened throughout my
You
life.
were open to it.
Every apartment I've ever lived in, you could see in women's windows. I don't know what it is about the roofs of the places I lived,
or my search criteria in looking for apartments, but it happens.
and I don't know who left binoculars next to the window of every apartment I lived in. No, but there was a woman who lived across the street from me on 16th Street, and she came home every day. She had a picture window, a giant fucking floor-to-ceiling window, and she'd come home from work, get completely naked, shower, and walk around naked, and I would just sit there, like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, people would call me to hang out, but I can't hang out right now.
I got to watch her open my present, which is Windex.
The windows were dirty, and I was concerned about that.
Today she gets a stepladder
My window was even dirtier.
and rags. Oh, boy.
Jesus.
But you know, that peeping Tom thing, I think we brought that up when, who's the guy who was caught masturbating on Zoom for CNN? Tubin.
Jeffrey Tubin.
Yeah, it should become a verb, tube. He was tubing.
He was
But that's what you see. Like, no one's blaming her. Like, she hasn't even been charged because the people were peeping in. Like, this, she had an expected, whatever the legal phrase is, an expected sense of privacy, whatever it is, an expectation of privacy. So did Tubin. He didn't think his thing was on, and it's a window, and everyone else stared through it as he started tubing.
I bet he wished.
And
he
everyone
got
blamed
shot.
him.
Yeah.
They're the freaks.
I
Turn
know.
off your computer.
Turn off your computer.
Yeah.
Here it is, folks.
This is
it's
where we
time for
defend
local
Tubin.
news. We're going to put it out to you, the members of the Sacramento left-wing Whole Foods community, the Sunday Papers fans, to come up to that microphone and step up to a chance to win a Camino cannabis-infused gummies tin filled with 5 milligram gummies. Anybody have any stories about the town you grew up in, things that were in the news?
Doesn't even have to be now. Doesn't have to be news. Look at that, Greg. What
Nobody?
audience participation? They're too baked and paranoid.
They're all too big.
That's the local story. Everyone's baked in this fucking town.
I'll tell you a story from my hometown, and maybe it'll inspire you guys.
I doubt it.
Tarrytown, New York, circa 1982. There were a bunch of guys that used to hang out on the benches downtown, and they used to smoke angel. They drive to the Bronx and get angel dust, and then they would get fucked up, and they would listen to bad heavy metal. And one night, the police were called to the cemetery, where they had exhumed a body that was recently buried, and they were playing football with limbs of a dead body. And the police saw them doing it. They were arrested, and they all went to jail. And then they got out after 4 years or whatever, straight back to the benches, and they were known forever as the Gravediggers. Yeah.
Top that, Sacramento.
Top that, Sacramento.
I have
All
a
right.
local story where
All
I'm
right.
from, where I grew up.
Okay.
These planes flew into these buildings.
You have to say where you grew. Oh.
I think you know. All right, let's go on.
Okay, so no takers? I know, we should have given you some warning. We fucked up.
I know, you
just
brought
assumed everybody had a
newspapers.
fucked up story from their hometown. All right, tell us the story, sir. Come on up. This guy was at my show the other night, as a matter of fact.
I lived on F Street when she was arrested.
Go ahead. Tell the story, because I don't know that much about it.
Well,
Yeah, you
you
tell
guys had a Unabomber victim here, actually, right?
Well, there
I
was-
believe.
Downtown, Sacramento, what, like F?
Oh yeah, we're supposed to wait. We're supposed to say don't touch the mic. We're
Yeah,
you
step
know,
up-
and you
but
haven't. You've
step
done
up
perfectly.
close to it, though.
You
Get
put on
close
a
to it.
mask. You've done everything
Yeah.
perfect. We're just supposed to say.
And he
that.
has on a Greg Fitzsimmons pin.
Yeah.
Last night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is it gonna
all
go
right.
off
So
in my
not
eye?
everything's perfect.
So it was downtown Sacramento. This was in the
And it was 1988.
1988. There was a woman that lived down there. She had a boarding house for Dorothea Montalvo Puentes.
Whoa.
And she had a boarding house for elderly people, like a assisted living type thing. And she was hammering their Social Security checks. When they would pass away, she would bury them in the backyard.
No, she was killing them.
Well, at first, I think the first one. Anyway, yeah, so she started killing them and was hammering the checks still in the backyard.
Wow.
She was ahead of the curve on
Ahead of
that.
the curve. Yeah.
Because that happens.
Well, that's capitalism. You know, at first you can't. It's like you can't just passively get the money from the dead people. You have to start going after it. You have to start killing them, creating more profit. Where does it end?
And
She
there
didn't
was-
even-
there
yeah.
was a
Oh,
local-
he's back.
There was a local bar. What was it called? Joe's Place?
Well, and the old tavern and the press club.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Jesus,
Yeah,
you got a
and
good
she was
memory.
going in there.
Are
She was
you the
known.
woman who ran this home?
Ladies and gentlemen, Dorothea Puente.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Little
but she
too
was
many
well known for
details.
going in there and hammering these checks at these bars.
Wow.
And they would cash them at the OT.
She
Yeah,
didn't
the
even
old
have to
tavern,
steal
yeah.
their identities. It was just a layup. Yeah.
Would she
Wow.
cash the check and then raise a glass to the person she just killed?
Spill a little out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Go
come
buy
up and
some
get
more.
here. Here's your Camino gummies.
Oh, I'll see you and raise you with a Golden State Killer. Yeah.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
on up there. Golden State Killer.
All right, Patton Oswalt.
All right, get close
Yeah,
to
of
get close to
course.
the mic.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Patton Oswalt's wife,
Yep.
right, did a whole documentary on it. So
Yeah.
watch it.
Oh, wow. I'm glad we don't have another can of
Unbelievable.
edibles for that.
That's like us telling Norm's jokes for him,
Yeah.
getting the laughs.
Can I do a neighbor story?
Yes, do a neighbor story. Real ass dude is getting up here now. When I get up there, he's got his mask on.
Try not to touch the mic.
So,
Oh, yeah, don't touch the mic.
Okay.
You don't see
Okay,
the sign?
this will be the last participant.
Yeah.
Who lives?
it's a second language. Anyway,
And he,
my
and he
neighbor,
takes his mask off.
who lives across the
Just
street
lick
from me,
it a little. Go ahead.
my neighbor who lives across the street from me is a complete dick. And
good story.
basically, I think he has a pit bull. Actually, I know he has a pit bull. Well, when I take my glasses off, I can't see shit. So I think like a couple of years ago, I happen to have a pit bull too, but I heard my pit bull went crazy. I opened up my door, and I couldn't see anything. His pit bull had gotten out of his house and came in, and our two pit bulls started attacking each other. And so my one pit bull grabbed the neck of the other pit bull, and I tried to pull it apart, and he like bit my finger off. Almost,
No.
just about. No, it wasn't that bad, but still. But no, there was blood gushing all over the place.
Wow.
But that's not where it gets sketchy. Where it gets sketchy
Is when you killed your neighbor and buried him in your backyard and cashed his checks and killed his dog.
I think about it every day.
Yeah.
But no, that's not where it gets sketchy. Where it gets sketchy is after he had done that. I was like, hey man, I went into the hospital. It was like $4,200 worth of medical bills, and I was just about to refinance the house. I was like, shit, man, that's gonna show up on my credit report. I don't want another point.
Yeah.
That's gonna make my thing go up. So I asked him to pay me, and he never did. Well, I ended up not filing the police report. I ended up suing him, and so he ended up paying me like $5,000, and he wasn't too happy about it because on 4th of July, the next 4th of July, he worked in the army, or he was in the army, so he's an infantryman, and I think he tried to blow up my house.
No.
Yeah,
Really?
he launched like.
Now you're not
300
pointing any fingers here.
I'm not pointing any finger. I mean, the police actually, they wouldn't. You know what? Actually, like every time something blows up, I always pray, like, please don't let it be my people. Because.
Wait, what just happened?
Wait, who are your people?
What does that mean?
Well, you know what it means. Because I'm from India, and basically everything from India to Saudi Arabia looks the same to where everyone I live at.
I didn't know you were from
Yeah.
India. I thought you were a black guy.
They always say that. They instead of saying, the other Indians just ask me if I'm from Fiji. It basically means the same thing.
See, that's the beauty of you.
Confusing. We've been blowing up the wrong
there.
people. Yeah.
I've only known you for the 19 minutes you told that story. But here's the. but here's what I love about you, and I do love you. I love your shirt that says "Real Ass Dude." I like your beret. I like that you took your mask off and touched the mic, even though the sign said not to. But I liked it. I don't know who the fuck you are. You could be black, you could be Indian, you could be Latino. Like nobody can ever dislike you for who they think you are. If they dislike you, you'll know it's you. Thank you, my friend. We got time for one more. Sure, now the floodgates are open to get up there.
Just
Now
step
this
right up
one-
to that phlegm right there.
Should I keep my mask on?
Yeah, keep
You
your
can
mask
do, at
on.
this point, all
Yeah, it
bets are
doesn't
off.
matter. It's up
All
to
right.
you.
Thank you. I'll just stand 6 feet away.
No, stand because we
Project.
can't hear you. You gotta get
Oh,
close
okay.
to it.
I like this. Okay.
Okay.
I have an OnlyFans story.
Oh.
And this story
Hey
actually made national news, and I know you guys I think you might have talked on it maybe
All
a
right.
little bit, but here in town, we have like Catholic schools, like our Catholic schools, and there was a Catholic school mom that was doing her OnlyFans, and everyone's just thought, oh, she's just doing like negligee things, and everyone's just, oh, there's nothing wrong with that, but everyone thought for sure that that's all it was, and you're like, no, you're not making like $100,000 a month just like walking around in your negligee. You're 100% doing some nasty
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, insertion,
like
we know.
Getting
Yeah.
whatever you're
Right.
doing.
Sleeping
right?
with
And
his
it
pit
was like
bull,
and
Right.
it was a fun time explaining that to my amazing wide-eyed husband, who was like, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with that." I'm like, "No, honey. Like, it's a thing. Like, there's nasty stuff happening.
Yeah.
And you build a relationship, and you do special stuff and all the stuff. So the kids get kicked out. Like, Catholic schools, like, at will. Like, bye. Like, you're distracting you and your whatever thing." And so it was, and then she went to the news. It was on the news, and it was like,
You mean because her kid got kicked out of the school?
And I'm like, bring more attention to yourself. It
Right.
was like, just run along.
Yep.
Run along.
Right.
Go. And
Keep it to yourself. The theme of the podcast.
keep it to yourself.
Right.
Like, do all your nasty stuff.
Yep.
I don't care what you're doing. Although I think if you have kids, like, you're messing your kids up. Like, that's not. I'm not one to judge. But if you have kids, like, you're kind of messing up your kids because they're old enough, and the kids are getting. And it was this group of women, and it was kind of a thing.
Wow.
It was all hot gossip. Hot gossip.
Have you ever done anything to embarrass your children?
This is going to embarrass them.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah.
This is going to do it. This is, whatever.
No,
yeah,
you're-
like most of the things I do. I don't care. But anyway, so then they lived in a downtown neighborhood like East Sac, which is and then
East Sac?
East Sacramento,
Okay.
where all the big houses, like,
Fabulous 40s.
that, yeah, like, well, maybe in a different part. Anyway, like, I don't know.
So it's a nice part of town.
It's a nice part of town, but they kind of got driven out. No, they live in my neighborhood.
They do.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, she's making
I
some
wonder
money.
if she's making more after the national.
Perhaps it's a much bigger house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
much bigger house. Anyway, that was a humongous scandal. Everyone, because they got kicked out. She was on national news. It was in the Daily Mail in the UK. It was broadcast
Wow.
all over the world. And Mrs. Poindexter.
That's her name?
That was her handle. So if you want to look it up,
Oh,
All right, way to
yeah.
give her a shout out.
I
Wow.
say, I mean, good for her doing all that. But I mean, I kind of like the kids. That's kind of a dicey
Yeah.
deal. So
Well, hey, I'm friends with Belladonna, the
Yeah.
porn star Belladonna. And you talk about embarrassing your kid. She did pregnancy porn into the third trimester. That may haunt you a little.
Which is still legal in Texas. By the way. Wow. How
All
much
right.
is an Uber to East Sacramento? Okay, all right.
All right, let's do entertainment, people. Okay, entertainment.
What do you want to do
Dr.
here?
Anthony Fauci, the nation's leading infectious disease
We know who he
expert,
is.
debunked a claim made by rapper Nicki Minaj
We
that,
know who she is.
that the COVID-19 vaccine.
Can make men impotent. Is that what she said? I thought it was just big balls.
Giant balls.
Yeah. That's why I got a fourth vaccine.
Yeah, that's why Mike is adding that to his pillbox after the show.
I'm not going to show up to East Sac with regular sized balls.
No, you want swollen sack.
Poindexter's not going to find me an exceptional student with regular testicles.
Well, I guess, so I guess he really shot her down. And, big balls are overrated. Like I can remember when I was in like 8th, 9th grade, guys would do they'd hang skull. They call hang brain or hang skull.
I never did it, Greg.
I think it was hang brain. You unzip your fly and you pull your balls out. And it was a big thing in 8th grade. And then you quickly started going like, no, that's now if you did that, you would be fucking ostracized. You'd
make a ton of money on OnlyFans.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So anyway, big balls are overrated.
So that was a big story. Yeah, that was crazy. Did she stick to her guns?
She did. She didn't go to the Met Gala because of it. Because you're
Wow.
supposed to be vaccinated to go to the Met Gala. So she didn't show up. I thought Billie Eilish looked very pretty at the... Can I say that? Can you say pretty?
You said voluptuous.
I did.
think on another podcast.
I did? She looked voluptuous. As do you, ma'am.
Well, why are people getting any medical advice? I mean that's the obvious from her. Nicki Minaj, is that who it was?
Nicki Minaj.
I get all my pandemic news from Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah.
She's on it.
Yeah.
Usually agrees with the CDC. So I feel it's a trusted source.
I get it from Chance, the rapper.
I mean, you want someone with a medical degree, I get it from Dr. Baby. And then I realized I misread it. It's Da Baby. It's just one letter off. They're very close together on the keyboard.
Yeah. Dr. Dre's got a lot of good info, though.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby's back, people.
Can you believe this?
He's working with a number of different producers right now, formulating ideas that could bring him back into the show business fold. Quote, "I've got it all put together, man!" Exclamation point.
Yep.
I even have my wardrobe ready,
Is
said
it an
Cosby
orange
76. So
This is real. So I cut this article out. I couldn't believe. I thought it was fake. I thought it was like an Onion headline.
Yeah.
He's like, I would love to lay out some of those wonderful thoughts that I have now on parenting, families. This is true. And marriage. People who I meet in the airport keep asking me, when are you going to come back? I don't think that's the only thing they're asking you. I think they're asking you to kill yourself, probably.
When are you going to come back? I think his question is always, when are you going to wake up?
When am I going to wake up? Wait, who are you? Wait, is it still 9 p.m.? That's what he gets asked a lot. All right.
Wow.
I know.
If he does shows, they can't not be filled with hecklers. I can't imagine protesters wouldn't show up and heckle him throughout his shows.
What they're going to find is all the viewers fall asleep before the show's over.
Right.
That's what people do when they see him now, just naturally.
Yeah, he doesn't need the drugs anymore. Just another fucking bad punchline about pudding. Jim Brewer from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, right.
Brew or boo?
Right.
Oh, boo.
He's
People are
touring
booing.
with Nicki Minaj, I think.
So he said he won't be appearing at the Metro Detroit venue due to the segregation of people being forced to take vaccinations.
Thank you, says Detroit.
I know I'm going to sacrifice a lot of money, but I'm not going to be enslaved by the system or by money, and nor should anyone that wants to laugh or be entertained. So Brewer was on my podcast about 6 months ago, and he brought up all this crazy anti-vax shit. He has fallen under the just too much get off the internet. If
Is
you
he
believe
is he anti-vaccine or is he you're forcing me to get the vaccine?
anti-vaccine, he did not get vaxxed. He caught COVID. Everybody in his family caught COVID.
He's put every drug in his body.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't want to put the vax in, but fucking magic mushrooms, LSD, Molly, that's fine.
Yeah.
Says the guy who just got an Impossible Burger from Burger King.
I'm chasing with the liquid death. How can it go wrong?
Hey, you know who else is back putting people to sleep? Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh, no.
She's got a little cartoon called Little Ellen.
What?
She's a child in the city of New Orleans. She wears a shirt bearing the image of a rainbow, a recurring motif, both as a symbol, obviously, and sometimes just as a rainbow.
How can you tell the difference?
Context. Her socks are
Okay.
mismatched, and there is a Band-Aid on her knee. And beyond that, she made no contribution to the $20 million she was probably paid for putting out a fucking animated version of herself.
Sometimes it's a bigoted rainbow. That's how you can tell the difference.
Yeah. All right,
What is she doing, honestly?
you
You know what it is? Maybe because a kid can't be like toxic. Maybe that's her gambit.
Right.
Like, oh, who can, this kid can hate most people who aren't famous and get away with it.
Right. Florida man.
Oh, wait, you asked me to change this story.
Well, I did, but go ahead. This is Mike contributes very little to the script, but what he does do, he does Florida Man. That's one of the things he does. And
you stole one of my stories.
Here's this
Bill
week's-
Cosby.
Here's this week's Florida Man that he put in.
2 young teens charged with plotting mass shooting at their middle school. Oh, you guys are just too stoned at this point. 14-year-old and a 13-year-old. They're so young. That's why I put it in here. So our 8th graders, and 2 hours away from the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, where the gunman, right, I'll keep going. And Police learned the boys had looked for guns on the black market, studied ways to build pipe bombs, and researched the 1999 school shooting that occurred in Columbine in Colorado. And a map of the school was located, and the map contained. You're waiting for me to make this funny?
Yeah, I can't wait.
No, I refuse. I'm like Norm. I'm just going to get darker. The map
Is
contained.
little Ellen going to do an episode about this?
The map contained markings indicating the location of each of the school's interior cameras. Anyway, what I wanted to do this week was we always shit on Florida, but some of these kids are way advanced and way ahead of other kids in schools around the country. Like the Columbine kids were so much older than these kids were.
Yeah.
So shout out to Florida. There's something going on in the school system. I think they've turned it around.
They're
These
pushing
kids have
themselves.
maps. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're amazing.
Yeah. they
Kudos,
are.
Florida.
When I was in 8th grade, I remember I stole my art teacher's keys because I fucking hated her because she gave me a bad grade on a painting. How do you give an 8th grader a bad grade on a painting? So I took her keys.
Well,
and
it's nothing but swastikas.
it's an ancient
Just liquid death. I just talk about the
It's an
Holocaust too
ancient
much.
pagan symbol. It preceded the, and
Yes,
so
it's Gaelic.
so I threw her keys out the window into the bushes, and they knew it was me. And it was one of those 8th grade things where you're in the principal's office and they're going, "Just show us where the keys are." And I'm going, "I didn't touch the fucking keys." She had to get all new keys. Fuck her. That was a good painting.
Yeah.
All right, let's go international.
All right, what's this story?
Why don't you read it?
It's not mine.
So make it seem like you did something this
I'm
week.
not going to make this one funny. It's very long. I can tell it's not mine. You just pasted everything in here. A 64-year-old fugitive walked into a Sydney police station to give himself up almost 30 years after he used a hacksaw blade and bolt cutters to escape from prison. Darko Desic, is that really his name?
That's a criminal's name.
Darko.
If you name your kid Darko Desic, just start getting bail money together right away.
Also, this journalist fancies himself a poet. He's like, Darko Desic decided to go back to prison. It's like a riddle because Sydney's COVID-19 lockdown made him jobless and homeless, the media reported. Sydney's lockdown, which began in June, had cost Desic his cash-in-hand work as a laborer and handyman. He slept on the beach on Saturday night and said, "Stuff it. I'll go back to prison where there's a roof over my head." He had served 13 months of a 3.5-year sentence for growing marijuana. And then it goes on
So the guy
a
was-
long time to describe who he is.
So basically, he had like a couple years left on a pot sentence, and instead he went on the lam for 30 fucking years.
All right, way better idea. I mean, it's obvious. Why not try to steal some money?
Right.
You'll go to, the worst that happens, you go to jail. Which is what you're doing
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true.
But there's a chance you'll make a lot of money and not go to jail, Desic.
Yeah,
Darko.
You're playing with the house's money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Right?
It's high risk crime.
I remember in high school, a guy got 2 big, like they were called steps in my high school. 4 steps, you were kicked out of school. He got 2 steps for tearing like a cool picture out of a magazine, but it was our library, our high school, our library's magazine. And
Hogwarts Weekly.
no, but I remember one kid at the school who was much smarter than any of us. He's like, he heard about that. He's like, next time, just steal the whole magazine. Oh, sorry, I didn't make the premise. He got 2 steps. One was for vandalism and one was for stealing.
Oh, yeah.
Because he tore the page out of the book and they wanted to teach him a lesson about that.
Yeah.
So this one guy goes, next time, just steal the whole
Yeah.
magazine. Or tear up the whole magazine and leave it.
Let's go back to Florida, man. I think we'll have better luck with that one. Sports. As you know, last year we had our Tampa Bay bet. I came out $400 ahead. This year I'm $50 down. In week 2, Tampa Bay did not beat the spread, even though they won the game last week.
So we're pretending it's Sunday. It's happening today. Who are they playing?
Atlanta, and they are giving 12 points. They're playing at home, so it's a 12. I got to beat you by
They're at
12
home again?
points.
Weren't they at home last week?
Yeah, sometimes you do 2 back to back.
All right.
But I can't imagine.
Florida.
You know, He is the Florida. How many times was he Florida man last year? I think at least twice.
Who, Brady?
Brady.
He's a douche.
Just the worst. He's the worst human being. But you know why? Because he's just a fucking hair away from being an amazing guy. He's got so much going for him. He was given so much, and yet, like I work with the Best Buddies a lot, and he was a face of the Best Buddies for years. Charity. And he did a lot of great work for them. I can't take that away from him. That's why I say he was so close. But then he left Best Buddies to start his own foundation, the Tom Brady Foundation. He solicited hundreds of thousands of dollars from Best Buddies to seed his own. It wasn't his money. No. No, he got money from them that they had gotten from people to start his own foundation. The Boston Globe did a huge expose on it. Why?
The year he signed his contract?
What's that?
Wasn't that the year he signed his contract?
The year he signed his contract for $30 million a year, while his wife was making more than that. Oh, and he got a PPE loan. The same
Was it
week that he got,
200,000 or something?
No,
2
he
million?
got like a $2 million,
Oh, it was
and
2
it was the
million?
same week that he got a $3 million yacht. I mean, come on.
Coincidence?
I'm donating 10% of the profits from tonight's show to Best Buddies. Yeah. And all my merch, all my pins, which, by the way, I'll sell them after the show if you want them.
Darko Desic should go rob Brady, fucker. Take his boat.
Let's go to this. How are we doing on time, by the way?
We're out of time.
No, we're good. We're good.
What does that mean?
We got a half hour.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do some This Day in History. In 1995, the Unabomber Manifesto was published.
Local story-ish.
Yeah, that's right.
I did read that.
An anti-technology terrorist is published by the New York Times and Washington Post. The hope that someone will recognize the person who, for 17 years, has been sending homemade bombs through the mail, probably grew up in Florida, that killed and maimed innocent people around the United States. After reading the manifesto, David Kaczynski linked the writing style to that of his older brother, Ted, who was later convicted of the attacks and sentenced to life in prison without parole. He murdered 3 people, injured 23.
It was like some weird word like tallywhackers in there. He's like, no one but my brother says that.
Yeah, right.
Like, I wonder,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I know you probably knew his brother's leanings.
Yeah.
And have you ever gone back? Apparently, I have to watch how I say this, but apparently the manifesto does have a lot of appealing points in it. I'm not at all talking about what he did with the U.S. mail, but I'm just talking about the manifesto.
Oh, no, it was brilliant. I mean, the guy was I think he went to an Ivy League school.
Oh, he went to Harvard, famously.
Yeah, and he...
You know, he was a victim, he was in the victim role of famous experiments, psychological experiments, that I think break a person down at Harvard. Yeah.
Using LSD.
I think that might be, he volunteered for it.
He
right?
volunteered
for it in the CIA. I know everything about this guy.
Is this part of like Intel Pro or whatever?
What's that?
Is this Intel Pro?
What they did.
Wait, come up to the microphone.
Was it the prisoner ones? Yeah, lick the
Real ass
microphone.
dude is coming back up.
Just deep throat that.
The Indian guy.
He actually volunteered. It was like when he was at the Ivy League school, it was a sophomore
Will
year.
you let go of the goddamn microphone? It's like you have
he has mic technique. I don't.
He's got a phallic thing.
He volunteered, and he basically volunteered to work for experiments that the CIA was doing, and they were using mind-altering drugs like mushrooms, blah blah blah, you know. But then they were doing like sensory deprivation and all that.
Wow.
And so the people that he targeted were actually the people that were on the boards of the CIA, et cetera, et cetera.
Interesting.
So
Makes
he was
sense.
actually, he had a hit list.
Okay.
And the hit list was people from the CIA. That's why the FBI was so scared of him. And he was a professor at Berkeley. So he left Berkeley, and I mean, he basically, it was just the stuff that he did was just in a little cabin in Montana.
Right.
He found it, and then
I haven't seen that documentary. You
Yeah, it's
watched
great.
the documentary?
I think I watched the
wrote it.
document. Yeah. I definitely did do a little reading.
I'm in it.
Oh,
No, you.
a little reading, yeah.
All right. Thank you for keeping
all
your
right,
4.5 fingers off the microphone this time.
Have you noticed? Every time there's a loud noise outside that sounds like a bomb, he dives under the table.
He's like,
dog-
please be the other people.
A dog barks. He jumps on the fucking table.
Yeah. Yeah, so do you know what his victim here, because his victim here, my understanding was years before they put it all together. So it was an unsolved case, I guess. This guy got a bomb. And do you know about what his connection to Kaczynski was, the guy in Sacramento? Because I read a little about your town, and that's one of the headlines.
I didn't know all the victims, but I know that's one of the reasons why he was targeting the victims.
Well, a lot of the ideas in it were about how social media, and I think this was pre-social media, but the idea of the internet would create isolation in people, and it would cause the breakdown of the sense of community that people, which is all very present. He was on top of all that shit. But the neoconservatives have really embraced a lot of his ideas. He talks about how the internet is being used to sort of like collect people into centralized government more, and that social media is a tool of big government, and so a lot of the neoconservatives are against have embraced his ideas. That was funny.
That was a good intermission. Yeah.
So anyway, all right, should we do, we haven't done Ask Amy. It's been sitting in our script week after week. Should we do an Ask Amy? All right, people want to hear it.
I don't even remember this one.
Did you remember to crinkle the paper? There you go.
By the way, that's a good image. I put the mic towards my crotch. Do I? Where do I get excited about this story? All right, there's a blind read. Here we go. Dear Amy, I got that part. My husband has been significantly overweight most of his life. He recently lost more than 60 pounds on a very strict diet. Parentheses, I have to work to stay at a healthy weight, but have never been more than 10 pounds. All right, I'm going to care about you. He's much healthier now, and I'm extremely proud of him and his dedication to a new lifestyle. However, when he was overweight, he was generally relaxed, fun, and easygoing. These are also the qualities that attracted me to him. Now, after the weight loss, he generally seems miserable. I'm not the only person to have noticed his change. A few days ago, a good friend told me that my husband is, quote, the most miserable skinny person he's ever known. I've tried to talk with him multiple times, both to let him know how proud I am of him for this accomplishment and to try to understand why he seems so unhappy. Well, I should have cut this down. Despite achieving the goal he set for himself. The most I've been able to get from him is that now that he's lost the weight, he's embarrassed about how overweight he was. Amy, I loved my husband when he was overweight, and I love him now, but after almost 6 months of dealing with his negativity, criticism, and a much shorter temper than usual, I'm not sure how to help without sounding like I'm trying to derail his health plans. We shouldn't have done this. Isn't a good one. I think much of his negativity stems from hunger and having to deny himself his favorite foods. Maybe he's impatient that you become such a bitch. I want him to maintain his health, but I don't want him to have to choose health at the expense of happiness. Any thoughts on how I can help us through this challenge? And it's signed, Missing My Chubby Hubby.
Well, I think you want to just, tell him you're proud of his weight loss and give him rewards, chocolate cake and Camino gummies
Get
and
this
burgers.
bastard high, exactly.
Yes. I've been sober for many years, and I was a lot happier when I was drinking. I was told I had a problem by many people, and so I stopped. And then I realized now, I didn't have a problem. They had a problem.
That's true.
They couldn't handle my drinking.
I always say you used to be my best friend. Then
That's
you gave
right.
up drinking, and now you're like 4 or 5.
Couldn't handle it because you're weak.
Who, me?
No, my family.
Oh yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? It was their problem. Totally,
Oh,
I agree
God,
with that.
I had so much more fun. I really did. But maybe I'll try getting fat. Maybe that'll cheer me up.
Well, also this wife's thinking. The logic is, let me shame him in a nationally syndicated column. I could ask my friends, but I want to ask Amy.
Yeah. That is the thing, though.
About my positive, healthier husband, who I now don't like.
That is a sort of a thing, though, isn't it? The jolly fat guy, right? It seems like it makes you happy to eat whatever the fuck you want whenever you want.
I think so. Yeah, of course.
You lost weight.
I did, but I don't know. I was never like this, I don't think. I don't know how I'm keeping it off. I guess I just am smarter, I take that fairy the vegetable meat. I don't do burgers anymore.
Right.
Actually, I do. Just not in Modesto or wherever I was. Where did I get the burger?
South.
No.
Modesto was the
Stockton. Stockton? What's the one south here that begins with an S?
Stockton.
Yeah,
Stockton.
that's Stockton. They don't
Yeah.
like me there.
Yeah.
I think I'm an urban wussy.
By the way, tonight, if you guys are around, we have 2 shows, and I'll obviously be headlining, but Mike Gibbons, who rarely does stand-up, will be doing a couple short sets. If you want to come down and see him.
We'll see how that goes. We saw how this went. So hold your applause.
I'm always like, Mike, just do 7 or 8 minutes. I don't know if I can do that long. Then they're giving him the light at fucking 12. He can't get him off the stage.
Well, I try to bring everything I got because I have to follow that shirt. It's a good podcast joke, isn't it?
I don't think you're going to follow the headliner.
That's a good point.
It's a good shirt, right, sir? Thank you. It's a great fucking shirt.
What is up with that
Thanks,
shirt?
man.
It's very flowery, like a bazillion flowers.
It's Paisley, I think. My wife
No,
got it for me.
that's not Paisley.
It's not Paisley. My wife bought it for me.
Is it Paisley, you think?
Oh, it's flowers.
Don't Paisley like have the shapes?
Yeah, no, it's just flowers. It's just flowers. And I got here.
You look handsome.
Really? Thank you very much. That really makes me feel good. Thank you.
Well, you know what?
This guy wants to take a
It's
picture.
Joanne. Well, you know why you look so good? Because you use gift wrap as a shirt.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home and dig up my 8th grade outfits like you do.
What? Don't knock our animals. They're fucking great.
All right, speaking of Joanne, let's do some letters to the editor. All right, Joanne, still crushing on us this week.
Oh, look at her. Does she know? We should have told her we left town.
And then this one comes from Jack Borrow. Hey, Greg and Mike went to a tiny high school in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan where we played basketball against 2 interesting mascots, the Water Smeet Nimrods.
What? That's a mouthful. Good luck, cheerleaders.
Go Nimrods! Go Nimrods!
Never mind water smeet.
And ready for this? The Hurley Midgets.
Oh.
And I looked this up. This is not a lie. There was a team called the Hurley Midgets until recently. The Nimrod's name comes
Sounds
from...
like the hurling midgets, like they have a contest. Like the midget throwing, tossing?
I think that's dwarf tossing.
Oh, I do mix up the two. I never went to that bar. I stuck to my midget bars.
Dwarfs go faster. The Nimrod's name comes from a
Can
Native
you still say dwarf? Does anyone know?
No, you're supposed to say dwarf. I
No,
believe.
little people.
Little person.
Little people?
Little person or people?
Well, as Norm MacDonald said when Conan said little people, and Conan, because Norm had just said midget, and Conan goes, no, it's supposed to be little people, and he goes, I don't look at them as little. I think all people are the same.
He also, on Conan, there was a woman, former supermodel, and she wrote a book on how to be a supermodel, and it was first rule. And she's like, and there were rules. Conan's like, what's in this book? He's like, there are rules. And she's like, first rule, and it's something like, be healthy or some shit like that or whatever. And Norm's like, I bet I know what the second rule is. Don't be a midget. On national TV.
The other one was Nimrods comes from a Native American chieftain term. Jay Leno.
Like squaw.
Jay Leno hosted the high school on their show a while ago to goof on their name, and they have a shrine in their school from whatever. Who cares? But I wonder what the mascot must have been, because the guy that runs on the field, did they actually have to find a little person to put the outfit on?
For the midgets?
Yeah.
Maybe there was like 3 of them on each other's shoulders.
No,
Just
you
a thought.
would want a real midget. Maybe you get a child
No,
to
I'm
do
3 midgets on each other's shoulders. So they're like a, I don't think the word I should use is normal person, but you know what I mean. No, regular, height, 6-footish.
All right. Is anybody here friends with a little person? Raise your hand if you're friends with a little person. 0. That's weird. I'm friends with Brad Williams.
We saw him here.
You saw him here?
Yeah, his picture's up in the hall.
He's a killer comic. He delivers. He's so funny.
He's the only person who's smaller than his picture. Just pointing it out.
I grew up with a kid named Nimrod.
You grew up with a kid named Nimrod?
His first name.
What did you call him for short?
Rod.
Rod.
Yeah. Enrod.
He was a certain ethnicity? Oh, okay. That sounds racist.
Yeah.
A certain ethnicity?
Let's just say when bombs go off, he blows up. According to this gentleman.
Oh, God. All right. Let's see.
Joanne, where were we?
Jason Temple said, "Hey, Greg and Mike, listening to the latest episode, when you were discussing the release of the Strokes' debut album around 9/11, I was reminded of an even bigger controversy. There was a hip-hop group called The Coup. Their album Party Music was to be released in November of 2001. The cover featured the two members of The Coup blowing up the Twin Towers with a detonator. For obvious reasons, the album release was pushed to change the cover." I mean...
All right, there's a lot to unpack there. So here's two guys blowing up the towers. Let's call it party music.
Yeah, right. And it's not like they hadn't been bombed before. You know, it happened back in, what was it, 93?
Under Clinton.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, but somebody sent us a picture of a couple albums. There were a few albums that had the Twin Towers in the background of them that came out around that time, and they'll be on the website if you guys want to look at the
Well, I told you, Sophie, my daughter, started watching Sopranos, and in the opening credits, and it's all over Friends also. Like, all of a sudden, the Twin Towers comes up, and I'm just like, oh. And she's like, "Are you always going to make that sound when you see the Twin Towers?" I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's impossible not to.
All right.
I wasn't in New York, but I mean, I lived right down there for a long time. I wasn't in New York when it happened, I mean. But it's crazy. It's still crazy. It's just such a
what's funny is
surprise.
we have a
It's so
friend.
sneaky.
We have a friend who has as dark of a sense of humor as we do, and his big thing is every 9/11 he would send me a completely inappropriate 9/11 meme. And this year on the 20th anniversary, radio silence. Didn't send it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I called him on it, and he sent me a beautiful picture of the Twin Towers, you know, with the lights going up in the
Oh,
air.
yeah, that they did this year in tribute?
Yeah. So he's turned into a fucking
I put it on
pussy.
my Instagram, but this is a true story. This is a true story. Galifianakis, of all things, I mentioned that just because there were famous people at this backyard, and I was there, and it was like the first gathering, and it was still super awkward. It was like a week later or something, and we're in there, and Fred, what's his name?
Armisen?
Armisen's there, and I don't know Fred that well. I mean, we recognize each other, and so I'm like trying to make small talk with him, and it's like not going that well, and also people don't know how to talk about it. It was still really fresh, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, he like kind of looks like pretty sad, and I'm like, what's, you know, I thought like he was getting emotional, but what's wrong? I was like, it's just really hard for me because my parents had a weekend house on top of Tower 2.
He told us.
He told that story, right? Yeah, you told that story.
I did?
Yeah, last week.
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, there were 2 towers. Sorry, I'll change it to Tower 1.
Wow.
I did tell it last week.
The
You're right.
irony is the 9/11 slogan is never forget.
Just like the Twin Towers, I attacked it twice.
Why?
It's worth
Why did
repeating.
Real S Dude just dive under the table when we did?
No, I know. To a story about explosions.
All right, let's do obituaries. Even though
And that's all, folks.
we already talked about Norm, but I wanted to give a local shout out to Sergeant Nicole Gee, Sacramento area Marine who was killed while helping the evacuation efforts in Afghanistan, was honored Thursday afternoon here in Sacramento. And actually, I flew in on Thursday, and while I was at the airport, her procession went just ahead of me. So my cab, we were actually in the procession, and as it went through the city, people were in overpasses and honoring
That's
her as she
awesome.
drove through. So yeah, so apparently she was a really beautiful person, and she
Oh
was
my
one
God,
of 13 service
23?
members killed. She was 23. And just days before her death, she posted a photo on Instagram of herself in uniform holding a baby in Kabul with the caption, "I love my job."
Oh, no.
So she was a service maintenance technician with the 24th Marine Expeditionary Unit, and she had a husband for 5 years, and they were based in North Carolina together. So our hearts go out to her and her family, and
Oh, that's terrible.
yeah. You know what we do after the obituaries to cheer up, though? We do the funnies. All right, let's do some funny.
Oh, good. You put one in there. I didn't look at Family Circus.
That's right. I got you, Mike.
All right. I was indisposed and Modesto.
Indisposed. He's indisposed. He's driving for 7 hours, and I'm periodically getting, hey, check out this video of Norm as he's fucking driving up the 5.
It's a long, boring drive. You got to watch something.
Why did he drive? Yeah, explain why you drove.
All right. Yeah. It's a short explanation. No, I brought all my gear, and I wanted to camp on the way down. So I also thought Yosemite was close to here. It's not that close.
How long have you lived in California?
Well, that's the thing, that none of us Angelinos, which I guess I'm one of them, but we don't realize that like San Francisco is mid-state. We call it Northern California. Yeah. But also, I did think Sacramento, it's probably the same distance as LA. It's an hour closer than LA to Yosemite. That's it. So it's ridiculous. But on the way up, so I drove up this morning, didn't lay eyes on the Sierras once. It's all smoked in. It's so sad. And I guess, is it Visalia? Is that how you pronounce that town? Visalia? I no longer care. I no longer care. That city, like the flames are right there, I guess. It's terrible.
Go to Big Sur.
I thought about doing that because that's right by LA, I think. I'm kidding. I know. I'm kidding.
He's going to end up in Malibu on the way home.
I think it's right by Eureka. I think it's right there. So yeah, I'm going to go there.
Hager the Horrible, and boy, is he horrible. I mean, all we want in the funnies is an opportunity for our children to begin reading. They get attracted by the colors and the drawings, and then they get the messages. Fun helmet, goofy big eyes.
Yeah.
And instead, you've got a king waving a white flag on the turret of his castle, and Hager's dummy friend goes, "The Duke wants to negotiate a surrender." Hager goes, "Good, I want him to grovel. Send for Helga." And in the last frame, the only reason I bring it up is the last frame, suddenly the woman, the king's wife, who's about to be raped, shows up on the edge of the tower, and she looks so scared.
Shouldn't it be haggle? Like they're going to trade wives? I don't want to overthink
Send
this.
for Helga?
I don't want to overthink this like my drive up here, but...
Haggle for Helga? Anyway. Let's get to some Lockhorns. God damn it, they're good. I got a few here. Leroy is talking to his wife, Loretta, and he hates her. And he doesn't think she's a good cook at all. And he says to her while they're eating, "You got this recipe from the newspaper? Where, the crime section?"
Pretty good. The guy can write a joke.
But now she comes right back. In the next one, Loretta is sitting with her friend on the sofa. Leroy is on the other sofa, just slouched over, dead asleep with a remote next to him. And she says to her friend, "I thought Leroy and I would grow old together, but he beat me to it." Yeah, right? And finally,
this is my favorite of the
finally,
three.
Leroy walks into the kitchen, and Loretta is standing by the fridge. And Leroy's got a huge smile on his face, and he goes, "Something smells good. Are you not cooking?" He hates her. He fucking hates her.
Okay, blind read. I'm not even going to look at the copy. Two redheaded idiots are talking.
Billy. It's Billy on the right.
The kids are reading, and so the girl, who's wearing like a sports jersey, that's weird. She's holding a book, and she walks right up to him, and her pie hole's open. So I guess she's the one talking, and she says, "When I grow up, I'm going to be either a princess or a president." What? I'm not even acting exasperated. What do you think that means?
Well, he's trying to be woke. He's trying to say that she can be...
no, she's the one talking.
Yeah, it's insulting to women because, I mean, a princess doesn't really... It's not something you can decide to be. You're born a fucking princess.
She still has one foot in, like, girls aren't worthy? Is that the idea? And it's a made-up occupation I want to be?
Well... I guess in the mind of a child, a princess and a president are like similar things, whereas One of them you run for office, and the other one you marry a guy until the paparazzi chases you under a bridge.
Oh, wow. Oh, now I like it. You know what I think this fucking Jeff Keane, I think he's like, you know what his thing is like, women have come a long way. And by long way, I mean halfway. That's what I think he's saying.
Yeah.
In his mind, halfway is like, that's good, ladies, girls, that's good. Stop right there. Half dream about a president, but keep that princess dream alive.
Yeah, right. And the joke is she'll be neither. I mean, isn't that the punchline?
I don't know what she's going to be. I don't even think she can read.
Yeah, the book is a prop.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah. All right. That brings us to.
Let's bring it home. Time for some Blondie.
Section.
All right. Front door. Blondie answers the door.
It's always at the door.
She has on a light rose-colored sweater. Her bosoms heave as she closes the door, letting fucking
The
dipshit.
pictures aren't moving. I think they are for you.
Dipshit Dagwood has a fucking bowling bag in his hand. Like, first of all, if this is your wife, why are you bowling? What are you're either sleeping or you're fucking eating, and now with the little time you're actually on your 2 feet, you're not going to take your wife out to a nice meal. You're going to go bowl in 2021. So she says, how did you do in the big bowling tournament? Oh, he's on his way back. How did you do in the big bowling tournament, dear? And he goes, I rolled 9 gutter balls in a row, and everybody gave me a rough time about it. Yeah.
That's where
I would
Family Circus
imagine.
would stop. Right there.
9 in a row. He said they actually accused me of doing it to break my own personal gutter ball record of 8 in a row. And Blondie says, with her arms crossed, actually, that's something you might do, honey. Little fucking something from Blondie there, huh? Yeah. And he goes, come on, after rolling 8 legitimate gutter balls in a row, who would take a dive on the 9th frame to set a new record? And the dog looks at the camera as if to say, this fucking zero would. But, I mean, it's just, again, how many more signs does she need? Look, we all are in couples where one of us knows we're better than the other one, or that you know your partner's better than you, right? Right? And so, clearly, she has to know she's outclassing Dagwood by a lot. And doesn't he understand that he shouldn't walk in the door and profess to rolling 9 fucking gutter balls with the fear that she might pack her bags and leave? Shouldn't he pretend he rolled a couple fucking strikes, even if it's for her own dignity, so she can put her head on the pillow at night and not think, I made a huge fucking error here?
And even the dog doesn't have to be like, do I have to stare at the reader again? Like,
Oh, God damn him. I wish I could get animated.
you're pretty
well, listen.
animated.
Before we go, again, another
This went
shout
by
out to the
quickly.
Punchline Comedy Club. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
hosting us on our first ever live podcast. We'll always remember that you guys were a part of it. Thanks for being here. Thanks to Chris Denman, Midcoast Media, Beth Hoops, and Key, and everybody that made it possible. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
God bless America.
Sunday papers with Greg and Buzz. They talk about the week's events and how we couldn't get it right. Blondie's so good. Give it Greg Wood. Family Circus, serving the purpose. Na-na-na, na-na-na, na-na-na. Sunday papers with Mike and Red. They talk about a Florida man who crashed his car into a road. They'll read about it. No need to doubt it. Sit back and relax. Take your news facts from these guys, then say